Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It's a new day. Are doing something we haven't done before, something brand new. Want to give some of my own rankings, feelings on my favorite Spider-Man. You know, I'm a huge nerd, huge gamer, huge comic book fan. You know, just everything in general. I have a lot of opinions on a lot of these things. I do play video games because I do enjoy them, but on the side, when I'm not playing video games, I'm usually watching a Marvel movie, a DC movie, animated, you know, Marvel or DC, Star Wars. I mean, pretty much anything you can think of that, if you put us in that category of nerds, that's where we're at. So, you know what? I wanted to do this. I wanted to do it while I was playing Spider-Man, and I kind of got cut off in between. And I really wanted to get more of my information in before I decided to start doing that. So if you guys wanted to run this list with me, I have my favorite Spider-Man. Hopefully a lot of them are the same as yours. If not, some of them you've never heard of before, anything like that, maybe you'll enjoy these, you know, going into it. Maybe you'll find out that there's another Spider-Man you like. And start. So I actually have two top 5 lists. Now I wanted to do this correctly and I wanted to do it fairly. A lot of it still is my opinion. If you have a different opinion, you could always put in the comments that anybody that you enjoy. Put them in there too, because maybe there might be anybody that's been a live action Spider-Man and not any other media as far as cartoons, comics, things like that, which I'm actually not putting comics in here. I wanted to do anything that was live media. So we're going to start with the live action, and then I'm going to go to like the all live media, and I have a few mentions as well that I wanted to throw in there. So my top 5 live action Spider-Man is the original the 70s TV show. It was Nicholas Hammond. Really good. It was The Amazing Spider-Man in the 70s. He really had nothing to work with, but yet he still kind of made it work. And the show actually lasted, I believe, 3 seasons. So, I mean, it wasn't a bad thing at all for him. It went pretty well, I'd imagine. You know, he got decent praise. Like, it wasn't anything great or anything amazing as far as today's standards are. Especially if you watch it nowadays, it's kind of cheesy. And I mean, like I said, he had nothing really to work with. So, you know, you give him a little bit of respect. Plus, he's one of the originals in live action. Then there's we've got number 4 on my top 5 list is the original Japanese Spider-Man from 1978. The 1978 one, it was so crazy because he didn't get bit by a radioactive spider, anything like that. He ended up having a magic bracelet from the planet Spider that gave him powers, and it was really funny. It was Shinji Todo, I believe is his name, the actor who did it. Number 3 on my list, Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield is a great, yes, Japan's Spider-Man is a TV show. I love it. Yes, exactly. Number 3 is Andrew Garfield. I have my reasonings for Andrew Garfield. I mean, I think that in the suit, there at the time there was almost nobody that could have played better in the suit. He was a little obnoxious, but at the same time, he had that flair to him that just like everybody wanted to see, the joking, and you know, that's what people wanted to see when they saw Spider-Man. And you know, earlier renditions really didn't have the quips that Spider-Man was really used to being known for, you know, the only reason he's number 3 on the list is because his Peter Parker was not good. I mean, his Spider-Man was actually pretty good, but the Peter Parker, you're too cool. You skateboard. I mean, you're way too cool. Like, if you can smooth talk girls and not be the quirky, oh my, it sounded too cool. And so, for me, I don't know. I enjoyed him. I mean, he was Spider-Man from 2012 to 2014. He's going to be a lot of people's first Spider-Man watching if they didn't, you know, if they grew up around that time. So, you know, I don't think he was bad. I don't think he was great. He's no George Clooney's Batman. So, I mean, even though people put him in that list. But I'm going to go on to my next one. Tobey Maguire, man. 2002 to 2007. Spider-Man's 1, 2, 3. But he was he's an amazing actor as it is. When you go into Seabiscuit, you go to things like that. He was always a good actor. His Peter Parker was great. But his Spider-Man, I don't know. I always felt like it was just lacking just a little bit of something. I'm also going to get on to some honorable mentions. And my first honorable mention, I'm actually going to do is the 1980s Spider-Man TV show, and the also separate show but around the same time with Spider-Man and Friends. Both of them, I mean, I grew up watching a lot of those shows, and you know, I loved those renderings, I guess you could say. And for me, growing up, you know, there wasn't as many TV shows for other characters like there was for Spider-Man, so there was a lot to jump around to. I did watch a lot of the older ones growing up, being that I'm in my 30s now, and you know, I really wanted to go back and also tell people about some of these older ones. You know, actually I'm going to give you one more, and that is the MTV Spider-Man show. Okay, it was in, I believe, 2003. It lasted one season. It was Neil Patrick Harris as Spider-Man. And growing up, like, I graduated in 07, so 03, I was just getting from that middle school, high school age, probably around that time, and it was so great to see a new kind of Spider-Man, even though it didn't really last long and didn't get well reviews. If you go back and watch it, it actually wasn't that bad of a show. It was kind of corny, kind of cheesy a little bit at times, but a lot of things were. So I'm gonna end that. I'm gonna end the honorable mentions there. I'm gonna give you guys the top one for the live actions, of course, and everybody kind of gathered that this was gonna be it. Tom Holland. Tom Holland live action has been our best rendition of Spider-Man live in the live action form. He has been Spider-Man from 2016 to the present, with Homecoming, Far From Home, Civil War, Endgame, and Infinity War under his belt as Spider-Man. Everybody knows that this guy not only had the charm of Tobey's Peter Parker, but the quips and the funniness from Andrew Garfield, and blended them together and added, you know, a few other hints of other characters of other Spider-Man in there, and just got this perfect, nerdy, shy at times, quirky little. He's so much fun to be around as Spider-Man, and you could tell, like, in every scene that he's in with another character. I mean, you just want to see what Spider-Man's gonna say, just like you want to see what Drax is gonna say too, because Drax will, you know, in Guardians will come out with the craziest things, and you're just waiting for the next thing for Peter to say when he's swinging around, or you know, when you see him for the first time in Civil War, and he's he's like, man, dude, you got a metal arm, and you're just like, oh my god, he's excited about fighting people. Like, this is Spider-Man. There's never been another Spider-Man excited for that fight, just because he's so excited about what he sees. And, you know, it was just so refreshing to see somebody with that much spirit, I guess, running, you know, Spider-Man. It's just it's good seeing it. I enjoy it so much. But I'm gonna get on to the next list real quick. The last 5. This is all media for the most, well, except for comics, of course. This is all live media. So number 5, 90s TV animated show, man. The staple of my Spider-Man love right here. This is what started it all. 90s TV show from 94 had 5 seasons. 5 seasons of this show. It was just like Batman the Animated Series for Marvel fans. You know, this was that show. And 5 seasons. It had Christopher Daniel Barnes as the actor who played Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And if anybody doesn't know who that name is, you would, because he is actually Prince Eric in The Little Mermaid. So if the voice ever sounded familiar, that's who it is. He also played, I believe, the eldest son in the 90s Brady Bunch remakes, the movies that they made. So I really wanted to give him a lot of respect. He is definitely in the top 5, and you got to imagine how many animated Spider-Man there were to even be in this list. I mean, you have to be the top of the top. I did have Tobey in as number 4, but I forgot, and it completely crossed my, it skipped everything, was Jake Johnson and Chris Pine as both Peter Parkers and Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. To have I believe Jake Johnson was the one that did a lot of the overweight Spider-Man, which was, I mean, that Spider-Man was so genius. Between them, you know, they really gave us an amazing Peter Parker to look at. You know, they gave us, you know, the one that everybody looks up to, and then they have the one who is kind of a dump after that. And to see that, though, that, you know, sometimes Spider-Man can overcome things, and then, you know, he's human, so he's affected, just like Thor was in Endgame. You know, he gained some weight, he was a little depressed, he didn't really care as much about things, you know, and that's kind of what they gave us with that Spider-Man, was things have gone bad for him. And with Peter Parker's story, that's what it is. You know, things always go wrong for him, but he tries to overcome. You know, he has responsibility, and this one forgot that responsibility, and it was great to see that. You know, so I wanted to give them the number 4 spot together. That Into the Spider-Verse Spider-Man was great. Number 3, I'm going to do Tom Holland again for number 3. I didn't want to give him the top spot again because I felt like that was just going to be favoritism on that one, so I really wanted to skip from doing that. Like I said before, 2016 to the present, he's been in 5 movies of Spider-Man, with plenty more in the talks. So, I mean, he will be our definitive Spider-Man very shortly. I mean, when it comes to, he's going to be doubling, he's going to be doing more, he already has the same amount of appearances in films as Tobey and Andrew combined, and they're working on more. So, number 3 spot, 100%. Number 2 spot, I wanted to do something and say, you know, a lot of people don't know about this Spectacular Spider-Man TV show, 2008. This show was great, okay? If you're ever looking for almost exact version of what Peter Parker is supposed to be, watch Spectacular Spider-Man. It's Josh Keaton, does the voice, awesome show. That's the number 2 spot. And then I'm going to do 2 more mentions real quick. Ultimate Spider-Man, because I just gave you Spectacular. Ultimate Spider-Man with Drake Bell. Anybody remembers those shows? I mean, it was 2012, 4 seasons. I thought it was a great show. But also, even though it was a great show, it was also the show that pretty much took over for Spectacular Spider-Man, because Spectacular Spider-Man was owned by Marvel. When Disney bought them out, they wanted to reboot the animated shows. I believe that's where Ultimate started to form. So I wanted to give Ultimate Spider-Man still the shout out because I believe that it was so great. And because of number 4's Chris Pine and Jake Johnson from Into the Spider-Verse also remind me that John Mulaney's Spider-Ham, and I don't care, you could say it's not Peter Parker, actually, technically is. Peter Parker would be Peter Parker in an alternate timeline, or an alternate universe where animals are humans, technically. So I did want to give him that because nobody could have done Spider-Ham like John Mulaney did. He did such a great job in that movie. I wanted to give him a little bit of that shout out too. So the number 1 spot, and if nobody's figured it out yet, I don't know why you've been watching this whole time, it is Spider-Man PS4 2018 Spider-Man. This guy is amazing. I don't care what anybody says, this guy is amazing. If you've never watched the whole show, or the whole, you know, watch the entire game being played, or played the entire game yourself, you have no idea what storyline you're missing. This is so beautiful. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. I mean, you just feel for this Peter. You love this Peter by the end of it. Yuri Lowenthal is the guy who does the voice for this Peter. I wanted to give him, of course, his name out there. I'm not going to just say Spider-Man PS4 is number 1 and not know anything about it. This guy is one of my favorite voices behind seeing the Spider-Man. You know, it's just like watching a cartoon or, you know, anything like that. You play this game, you feel like you're watching a movie. I mean, the acting skills on him, I mean, regardless if it's voice acting, those guys, in my opinion, sometimes have more talent than the guys who stand in front of the camera. And not necessarily giving, you know, less attention to the guys who do stand behind the camera, because like Tom Holland works, I mean, on his body constantly to make sure that he is in perfect shape for that suit. So, you know, like I said, you know, you can't really knock what they do physically, but sometimes those voice actors can give you so much more with less, because they don't have to be in shape. They don't have to be jumping around. They don't have to be doing those things, but they are going to give you so much raw energy, and that's what PS4 did. I'm not going to give you guys any spoilers. If you guys do want to know more about it and you've never seen this, you guys can continue to watch. I do the live streams of Spider-Man if you want to keep up with his story. Like I said, it is like watching a movie, and that's why I did want to give him the respect. I see a lot of Spider-Man lists, and not many of them talk about Spider-Man PS4 as a legit Spider-Man. Yuri Lowenthal's Spider-Man in 2018 is probably one of the greatest ones we've ever had. So I really wanted to give him that respect. But that is the entire list. You have top 5 live actions, top 5 live media, and all the honorable mentions on top of that. I mean, you guys, if you guys have never heard of any of these, or there's 1 or 2 of them you don't know, man, go on and check these things out. They are absolutely amazing. But I've been Wade, and I want you guys to check out the next one. I will have more top 5s coming out for you. Alrighty.